Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast for two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
That was like a super explosive intro.
I know,
Just
super
blasted
explosive.
that out.
It's like,
It's all pent up. All that Bitstorm energy. Welcome to Bitstorm. Yeah, hi, I'm Ben Slinger. And this is Bitstorm. And we're a podcast, and we're going to click pitch. And for those who haven't listened before, click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will get a new random word. And we will say them out loud, and we'll put them together, and we will make up a game idea. That's what we do. That's what we do on this show.
Throw it away and do it again.
That's right. And we chuck it, even if it's fucking gold.
Yeah,
Just get rid of
that's
it.
the way it works. 3, 2, 1, click.
Let's do it. Corral.
Manufacturing.
All right. So I'm thinking of like some sort of. I feel like my mind goes to sort of sim games and building games too often. My mind went to like you're a cowboy of sort of like you run a cattle farm, except they're all robot cows. Hence the manufacturing. So it's sort of like a futuristic thing, and you're setting up assembly lines, but also then I guess you farm them.
Okay,
maybe they're like cyborgs. So they're
Cyborg cows.
They're part meat with robot heads. It's like the future of meat. It's totally humane because they're just artificial intelligence, but they grow real meat bodies.
Ugh. And they can also, I suppose, give milk. Because that's another thing that you use cattle for.
Exactly. And you can like, if you get the right parts, you can have them express milk with all these different properties, like chocolate milk or medicinal milk of some kind.
So I'm seeing that one of the things that you're going to have to contend with are like the digital cattle rustlers.
Yes.
They come in and try to basically install viruses on your cows.
Yeah, the mad cow virus.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah, well, and of course, like their AI, they could just turn evil. There's a certain chance that one of them will just turn evil. And, you know, that might infect the other ones. They might lead an uprising.
Okay, so you got to be on the lookout for red eyes.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think
perfect.
That's the best way of actually determining whether they're evil or not.
Yeah, well, I love the idea that, because I was thinking sort of a top-down thing, but maybe if you're playing first or third person, and I'm just picturing this scene where you're herding your cattle. You know, it's dusk, it's getting dark, and you're just watching out there, and you see all these, you know, blue-eyed cows, and then just one of them sort of looks at you, and it's these red eyes, and you're like, oh fuck!
I like the idea that you
AI.
only just glimpse a little bit of it. You don't know which one it was.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit. Got to run your diagnostics on each one, and like that could be really cool. You could have to build your whole, your corral, like your whole as you corral them in. You have to. It's like, oh shit! If we suspect we've got a rogue AI, we have to send them through this, you know, extra testing thing that checks them and does the diagnostics, and you get all these cool futuristic panels come up with all the data about them. I kind of love this idea of it being sort of a simulation like management game, but also with these like things that could go wrong in that way. And particularly from sort of that third or first person view, because there are a lot of day-to-day things that could be kind of fun. Like, yeah, you literally have to ride your robotic horse to to herd them to different places.
But it's a much earlier version of AI, so it's not as susceptible to like viruses and
maybe
stuff.
it's like it's not even, it's very basic AI. It's because they're not trying to breed this for meat, so it's just utilitarian, and it's basically just a pure robot. Yep. It's almost like a vehicle, but it's definitely horse shaped.
It's just 3 cows taped together.
And basically, we can call this like Boston Dynamics 2050.
Oh, God.
Those fuckers are gonna rise up.
Yeah.
Have you seen that bastard opening the door for his buddy?
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
All right.
I just really want to see all the cattle rustlers and all that sort of stuff, and they're in the field, and all they're doing is like they're just hijacking your Wi-Fi signal and just
That's it. They're just war driving around your cows. It's like, oh, this one's got an exploit we can take advantage of. They just like shut down. Or just like start walking backwards or...
And you have like teenagers trying to come in and cow tip, and the way that they do that is, again, they hijack your Wi-Fi signal and they just get them to like shut down and flip over.
Well, or it's just like if you press this, or actually going back to something we've done before, they have to get close enough to plug the little pin into the reset button behind their neck, like an iPhone, and they fall over because they have to restart. So that's the challenge.
Oh, and thing is, because they're under pressure, they've got like a a 1 in 75% chance of trying to put it in the wrong way, so they've got to turn it around the other way, and then that's got a 1 in 50% chance whether it's actually right or not.
Right.
you know how the USB
yes the USB
every time that you go to
paradox. Yeah, that's a really weird way of stating odds, though, Trevor. 1 in 50%.
Yeah, whatever.
3, 2, 1, click.
Fuck off. It's a long night. I've been waiting for you to bloody come online.
I know. My kids didn't get to sleep soon enough. All right, softness.
Minute.
Okay,
so it can either be minute or minute.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Spelt the same fucking way. Thanks, English. That was me giving a thumbs up, by the way. You can't see it, but...
Big grin, thumbs up. Minute. Softness. Tiny dryers with fabric softener.
I mean, my mind keeps on going back to that Scrubs episode where they're talking about how they had to make one of the patients as comfortable as possible, and it was basically they put her in this whole room of cotton balls, and it was like. So I think of minute softness, and it's basically
cotton balls is an interesting way to go, because you could do sort of some interesting, like almost physics stuff with lots of cotton balls, having like piling up cotton balls, and the way that you could perhaps like move across them, except they sort of shift a lot. Can you imagine running on cotton balls? Like with enough of them, you'd sort of have some traction, but also if you stayed in, it's almost like quicksand, I feel like. But they also burn really well. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of sort of mechanics that we could come up with around cotton balls, because it's never been done.
Okay. Taking it a different way. Mm-hmm. You have...
Trevor, don't talk about your cotton balls.
No. You have a minute to basically make someone comfortable with the softest material. So it's basically a timed game on how quick you can add all these soft things into the room to basically either like maybe baby proof or something like that. I like the idea of it.
Oh, baby proofing is interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe so going in yet a different direction. Yeah, like either you've got a minute to baby proof a room, or the baby has to survive a minute in a room you've baby proofed. And so it's just this baby that's controlled by, it's either controlled by the computer. I was going to say it's controlled by a human, but then that's just that game.
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called, but where you literally have to try to kill yourself as the baby.
Yeah, and the dad has to try and like
protect everything,
lock all the different things, but it's so hard if you're
So maybe in this case, it's an AI baby that's literally just its only goal is to kill itself by falling down things and climbing in things and finding the sharp things that you left around, sharp corners of things and doors, cupboards that you didn't protect. Yeah, I'm trying to think like, could you come up with interesting ways to have to baby-proof it? Like you've got limited... It's almost like the Incredible Machine in that you have these set tools, resources at the beginning of a level, and you have to figure out the way that... I don't know, like it's literally that if you open this... Like it's not that just shit that you can rubber band a cupboard door shut between the handles, because there's two cupboards and you've got one rubber band. So you have to sort of have to realize that if you open both the doors at once, you can rubber band one door from one cupboard to the door of the other, and the baby can't get through. So even though those doors are just open at all times, they can't be moved or something like that, you know?
So I know we keep on going to this well every now and again, but The Simpsons has like this one part where they they had like a social worker come through, and they pretended to be a baby and like getting under the cupboards and you know, like drinking all the stuff. I like the idea that you're not baby proofing for a baby, but you're baby proofing for an inspection that's happening in
it's like a baby proofing test.
Yeah, it's like a social worker's coming in like a minute,
right?
So you've just woken up from like being drunk or something the night before, and you're
like, oh my god, my baby having test is today.
Yeah.
So you've just got these like random things that are lying around, like a pizza box and a hair tie
and so the idea is that you have a minute to do as much as you can. And then the rest of the game is actually just trying to not let the social worker actually see the other parts that you haven't cleaned up.
Well, I like the idea that this is maybe like a procedurally generated house that you wake up into every time. So it's literally sort of, you've got a minute, get the lay of the land, figure out maybe which way they're going to go, get those parts safe and clean first. And then once they're there, you're kind of having to block them to head in the direction of the things you've already cleaned and fixed at the same time as getting ahead enough to like deal with the next room before they make their way in there.
Yeah. So you may have your head, you go, okay, I want to clean up the kitchen because that's where the door that I reckon they're going to come through is. So you make sure that the kitchen is spick and span.
Yeah,
and while they're
safe.
looking through there, you quickly run into the next room and you start, cleaning up the glass shards and
yeah, exactly. The bottle that you broke after you glassed someone the night before, because you're fit to be a parent.
Yep.
And maybe it's that you could almost have it as two phases as well. That if you pass the phase with the social worker, where they're just kind of looking from a surface level, if you manage to convince the social worker that it's safe, then an actual baby comes through. It's like, all right, and here's your baby. And then you have to actually make sure that it's actually safe, and you hadn't just piled all the knives like into a cupboard that if it opens will just literally 20 knives will drop out.
Eject over the entire room.
Exactly. It's like, I'm going to put all my springs and knives in this cupboard. Oh man, there's way too many to fit in here. Let's just shove it closed and latched.
And locked.
It's basically that Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's click again.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, click.
Armchair.
Copy.
I had some weird ideas, but I'm not sure there's gameplay there.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is cloning at the moment.
Where I went was you are a teenager and you had a big party at your house while your parents were out, and at the party, your dad's favorite armchair got destroyed. Mm-hmm. And so you have to somehow make a perfect copy of it. But I don't know how that would be a game.
Okay,
really?
My mind's just gone in a slightly weird place.
Okay, we like weird.
Yes.
That leads to good ideas.
Back in my youth, I read a few books by the author Paul Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
He had
you and
idea,
me both.
Yes, he had an idea in one story that I remember where there was basically like a mirror image of the main character who comes into being through like some like scientific experiment.
Okay.
And
vague memories.
I'm sort of liking the idea that one day you're sitting in an armchair and all of a sudden a mirror, like the exact image of you, comes through the door and says, "You've got to help me."
So a sort of narrative thing then?
Yeah. So
or maybe a bit of, there could be some interesting puzzle mechanics you could use with mirror images of yourself. Or maybe the whole game is around mirrors in general, because there's a lot of cool mechanics you could do just with mirrors, reflections and light and the glass from them. And okay. So
I'm thinking that the catalyst for this is the mirror image's dad had this amazing armchair who basically when you sat in it, it could transport you to to basically another dimension sort of thing.
Transport you to Comfort Town.
Yeah.
Also, that dimension over there. It's a very
it just so
comfortable
happens
dimension.
the comfort town is this other dimension.
Yeah. Where everything's made out of cotton balls.
But no, I like the idea of, not necessarily being able to trust your mirror self because they're like,
have they literally come out of a mirror?
You're right-handed and they're left-handed, so you've just got this whole thing that you know they can mainly read backwards text and you can only read forwards text. So it's just sort of like the universe that they've come from is just totally backwards.
They're really good at taking selfies, though.
Yes, very good. Like no-look selfies.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of some of the interesting mechanics you can do. So did they literally come out of the mirror? Or they came via this armchair? Because weren't you sitting in the armchair? Weren't they telefrag you?
You're sitting in the armchair, and maybe there's a big
dimension
mirror
frag you
in this particular room, and basically you turn around, you're watching TV or something, and all of a sudden there's someone just spins the armchair around, and it's you.
No. I like the idea of like a first person view. It doesn't necessarily have to be VR, but it could be.
Yeah.
And like you hear a noise from the direction of the mirror and you look over and like you see yourself in the armchair in the mirror. But like as you turn back, the you in the mirror doesn't turn back. Like they keep looking at you.
God.
And then so you look at them again and
it's
like
so wrong.
They stand up and start walking towards you and come out of the mirror and like that's how you meet your mirror self. And they're just like, "Hey, nice armchair."
Okay, so I do like the fact that this is that you're leaning towards VR because I can see some of the puzzle mechanics where kind of like how in Rick and Morty how you had like the mirror
oh yeah, the Mr. Meeseeks.
Mr. Meeseeks.
Yeah.
So basically you've got certain puzzles in which you can basically have that you and your mirror self are able to like maybe
where basically you move and your mirror self moves the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
kind of like the idea that the mirror self isn't able to actually exit the mirror. So
okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Everything happens to be
that could be really cool.
So basically you've got certain things happening in the mirror universe and certain things happening in this universe, and using your hands, you've got to maybe be okay. I'm looking in here and blocking here. In another part, you need to actually.
Yeah. So you're basically looking into the mirror and seeing, there's something coming towards us, but it's only in that universe. So you have to pick up, something, the tray to block it. Except, you can't actually see it coming towards you. You can see it coming towards the you in the mirror.
Yeah.
And so you sort of have to indirectly know how to do that. I like that idea. I like the idea that so okay, maybe they don't come walking out of the mirror at you. Maybe it's just that they've gained some control over that mirror universe where they can like look like they can turn their head and talk, but the rest of their body still just follows you.
Oh yeah, I like that.
So they've got a personality. Like they are their own character, but they can't control themselves. They literally have to do what you do. So that's why you have these mechanics around, having to move things to affect stuff that is only happening in the mirror world. And there could be a whole story about how there's some rift between this world and the mirror world, and somehow.
And I like the idea that the mirror person can actually like take control of basically as it goes on. Maybe your character gets a bit weaker, and it eventually has to be that you're actually
that you become the mirror image,
or the mirror image basically becomes like the lead.
Yeah.
Instead of
so how would that work in VR? You see your own arms moving around? That is pretty nuts.
Basically, everything that like you try to pick up something with your right hand, and it becomes more clumsy because all of a sudden your left hand is actually more dominant or something like that. You could.
I was trying to think of the mechanics for how that would work for the mirror image controlling your hands, and I had the thought that, they're taking control, but you've still got control over like one finger on each hand. And so as you move your arms in the real world, just that like index finger moves in relation to that. And so you have little like you maybe actually that would be pretty. You've got puzzles where literally you're seeing your arms moving based on the mirror person, and they like pick up a gun, but you've got control of the trigger finger. Or like they have to flick something, so you've got control of that finger. Like the puzzles around them controlling your arms and you controlling that one finger on each hand.
I kind of like the idea
you have
of
to push the right button.
There's puzzles where you actually have to follow along with what the computer is doing with their arms.
Yeah.
Basically being the mirror image.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Yeah. Oh, there's a ton of cool stuff you can do with that. Yeah. So so let's sort of just do an overall sort of run on the narrative. So there's some sort of rift between these worlds. Is there some sort of, is it that sort of you're seeing through the mirror into another dimension where there's some sort of apocalypse or some sort of attack?
Yeah, maybe there's actually like interdimensional beings who can only be seen in like the mirror universe.
Right, and because they've attacked the mirror universe, that's sort of what's created this weakened link into your universe, and that's why you've got this thing happening where your mirror self can talk to you and you've got control over them.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it's basically just going through the game to defeat them. And so is there a real like teary goodbye at the end where you realize that now it's just yourself in the mirror? It's not your character who you've come to love and respect.
Yeah,
as their own being.
I kind of like the idea of the typical trope where, your character goes out into the real world and starts looking at things and everything's backwards, only to realize that you're now trapped in the mirror.
Now you're. That's good. That's a good twist ending. I like that. Perfect.
I'm kind of stealing from a movie, but
really, don't tell me that. 3, 2, 1, click. We're editing that out. It's our idea.
Well, I'm editing this week.
Exactly. So it's our idea. We didn't steal it from anywhere.
Okay. Draft.
Haven. So immediately, and probably because we were just thinking about interesting mechanics, but I just go towards some sort of wind mechanic where you're having to like, there are drafts that are blowing something through an area and it's sort of avoiding or redirecting the wind in some way. And so you can find like the haven away from that draft.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm just thinking as well, like another thing that came up in my mind was like a backdraft.
Okay.
Which is, all about with fires. If you break the wrong door, you get a backdraft.
And you get a big blast.
Sort of happens.
Okay, well maybe this could be a combination of the two, in that you've got a level and you've got some sense of where the wind or the air is sort of flowing through it, and that at some point there's going to be a backdraft. Like if you have to open that door, and so it's a matter of preparing so that the fire goes in a certain direction based on sort of where the air is or something.
You know what I've never seen before in like any sort of video game really? And it's basically you being a firefighter dealing with like, say, a bushfire.
Okay.
So your character, has to keep an eye on which way the wind's blowing so that they don't, like, basically this town of Haven needs to be surrounded by forest and all this sort of stuff. And basically you've got to try and maybe as a fire chief or something like that, you've got to determine where to
put your trucks, where to send your helicopters,
where to do your back burning and that sort of stuff to try and create a containment area.
Okay. Well, yeah, and so you could almost have some preventative measures as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Bushfire season in like the Aussie bush town of Haven. There could be some real educational value behind that. I feel like we could get funding.
Games,
we could get funding from the government for this.
And it's all about sort of when the fire chief has to sort of say, okay, we need to evacuate this area of the town and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
when to have people And basically making some hard decisions as well. Like you've got
which dehydrated koala do you save and
oh,
give water to?
You've got that.
It was a trick question. All of them. Part. God damn it! They're cute.
But also you can have like people trying to save their homes and that sort of stuff.
Of course,
so you'll get reports of some people not leaving their premises. So you've got to send in like the response team to try and get them out, but you make the wrong.
Well, I mean, a lot of the time they say that
they can be.
Depending on how close the fire is, you should stay in your house too, right? And hope that it burns around you. But it's going to depend on have they cleaned their gutters? Do they,
How good was all your warning systems before?
Well, because you could even have a management aspect of how much do you spend on the sort of the ads, the marketing, well, not marketing, but like the PSAs around. Here's how to prepare for a bushfire. How much do you even spend as a town on, or, all right, well, we're going to spend all this money on actually sending people out to clear people's properties, but then you might not have as much money to spend on like maintenance for fire trucks. So is it better to do that preventative measure and maybe maybe have one less truck when the fire actually comes? Or vice versa, there could be some real interesting decisions to make there.
And then you've got the expansion, all the expansions that you can do, where basically there's a fire happening in another region, and you can send your trucks to help that region out.
Wait, when you said expansion, did you mean like DLC or
DLC? Yeah.
So it's just a different town.
Yeah, different area, different terrain.
Right. I feel like this is one of those games that would appeal to like. There must be fire truck enthusiasts out there and like people who aspire to be firemen or women, firefighters, but haven't actually done it. Just like there are for train drivers and the people who buy a fucking farming simulator.
I like the idea that there's actually you got the management aspect of you can do the fire chief, but maybe earlier levels is you start off learning some of the basics by following the old fire chief, and he tells you, okay, go here, and here's how you put out a fire. And
you could have you could have a bit more of an aspect of that farming simulator where it's actually, because I was thinking kind of top down God game mode sort of views of it, and there could be a part of that, like you get a view that is that, but maybe the main thing is you're actually a character walking around, and early on you're helping to put out the fires and stuff. You got some actual firefighting mechanics in there. So,
you can have different sorts of fires that occur. You got the house fire, you got the factory fire, you've got the bush fire.
Totally. If you put in the driving of the fucking fire truck as well, and people you do the whole thing where you recreate accurately the insides of the fire truck, and they have to hit the right switch to turn the siren on.
Mm-hmm.
And
in VR?
Sure, of course. Everything we do is in VR. Everything's better in VR.
Well, what I'm imagining is, then depending on how well you go, you can maybe go down the path of, I want to be one of the helicopter pilots.
Right.
So you're going maybe, down, picking up all the water and doing all the water bombing.
Paths, different career paths.
Yeah.
Totally. Fuck. There's a lot we could do with this game.
You got arson. Like, you can be part of the arson squad of, the Haven arson squad.
So you could be you've got arson. You can set things on fire.
Well, maybe that's an
actually, that'd probably work.
A future DLC is,
the arson expansion.
Yeah, where basically an arsonist has
set
come
the fires
to town and you've got to
put them out. It's multiplayer.
It's story mode.
Yeah. Totally. He ends up being a fire demon.
Okay, 3 to 1 click.
Chlorine.
Contradictory.
Ooh. We might need some science for this. What do you need to cancel out the effects of chlorine or something? Or maybe it's that you are managing a swimming pool and you have to contradict all the piss. With chlorine. I think we've done enough management.
Eyes.
Maybe you're Bender and you just keep spraying people with chlorine. It's funny because it's poisonous.
Oh, shit.
Maybe you're a science teacher and you've got this asshole in your class who just keeps contradicting you on things.
Yep. So chlorine is basically just another word for the periodic table.
Yeah, well, that's it. It just leads us to science in general, chemicals. Oh, maybe it's like you're fighting against the fucking anti-science folks, and you like they've convinced themselves that because there's chlorine in salt, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sodium chloride, right?
Yep.
That and chlorine is poisonous. That salt is terrible, and they're trying to take it out of everything, and and you are fighting back against them with
because you like
and
salt
science.
on your chips.
Exactly, because you're a salty old bugger.
So you go around and just swearing at everyone. That's basically
Exactly,
your superpower.
Yeah. I think we need to clear
I got nothing. Read it one quick.
Slab.
Doubling.
So you're a tradie.
Okay.
It's all about getting paid under the table in beer. We're sort of on our realistic trades episode. Like, you could do an interesting bricklaying game or electrical game or carpentry game. Well, they kind of did that. They kind of did home improvisation.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could do that with electricity.
Yeah, I got nothing. 3, 2, 1, click.
Wait, hang on.
Okay.
Slab doubling. Slab. So the other way my mind went with slab was like a mortician's slab, where they put the dead bodies.
Okay.
I think that's what they call it. So maybe this is another sort of narrative thing where you've got two bodies, where you only expected one.
And one's a mirror image of the other.
Sure. Look, we're creating a franchise. It's the same thing. It's during this same event. This is the sequel. It's a completely different game. You play this mortician or this coroner or something, and
I like the idea that it's a coroner. And
yeah.
as you're cutting into the into the body, the other one's also being
sliced open, but obviously on like the opposite side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting a franchise here about this rift in between the mirror worlds. And in this case, they've actually this person has come out of the mirror, and then was killed
but can't be seen.
But was killed in some way.
I thought you meant that the mortician's like mirror image was there.
Oh no. The people on the
doing
slab.
everything.
People on the slab. So this is a bit more. You're discovering things about the mirror universe or about how those rules between those universes work by cutting open this body, performing your autopsy, and you can have other things happen. You're like maybe communicating with other people, researching online. I don't know. There's a cool, interesting, creepy. Whereas the first one, it would be a lot more action based.
Yeah.
This
has like a horror.
This is a bit more horror, yeah. I'm almost getting a sense of like the original Cloverfield and then 10 Cloverfield Lane. Like the difference between those in the same franchise, in the same universe,
So have you seen the film The Autopsy of Jane Doe?
I literally watched it last week, which is where my mind was starting to go to.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a freaky ass film, but has some great ideas that you could actually go with that. The idea that,
just the tone of it, even just like late at night performing an autopsy, weird shit being discovered.
Okay. So you're the medical assistant.
Okay.
So the coroner's telling you what to sort of do.
Oh, I like that. And it's VR again, right? Because it's fucking weird as. And so, you're at the beginning, you're just like passing tools and like hold back this flap of skin.
Don't look in, otherwise you'll throw up. but just you're the one that starts noticing that you got two bodies on the slab, and they were brought in separately, and
maybe it's not consistent because it'd be really obvious if you like cut into it initially and the other one just started bleeding or like being cut. Maybe it's like only once you start cutting into the second one do you notice that things you did on the first one
have
already like taken effect, like the heart's gone or something, or that you had to cut the heart open in some way to check something and it's already been done on the other one. Yeah, so you're sort of solving this mystery. And then I think halfway through, like, something happens to the coroner or the whatever, and you have to take over. And, like, now you're the only one. Or maybe not the only one. Maybe they get injured or something, and so then they're talking you through things, but you have to take point.
Yep.
Yeah.
What could also happen is they go out to take a phone call, and then, like, maybe the lab gets locked down.
Yeah.
So then,
because there's other things from this whole rift between universes, you could tie that into the first game in some way.
Yeah, and maybe there's a scene in the first game that there's sort of like this massive explosion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you hear that same.
All the power goes out or something. Yeah.
But I like the idea that it gets locked down and it's basically. Then you're just being told over the intercom.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I like this. I feel like now our next game has to be the third in the trilogy to really round it out.
Well, if we can go somewhere with it, then we will.
Yes, I'm not going to force us down that line.
Just the fact that we got copy in this, and then we got doubling.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah,
it is.
Next, it's going to be facsimile. It's going to be one of our next words.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Wait. Can I just say in VR, I like the idea. An autopsy game in VR, you really do need some good soft body physics. And that wasn't meant to be a pun, but it sort of is. I'm just picturing, like those skin flaps, like what you could do with skin flaps. and just like organs and things. My only
concern is, what do you do with the like private area?
Because you just go all out. You just you can cut that penis off.
I've been watching a lot of NCIS lately, and
they cut off a lot of penises in that show.
The way they get around it is they just shine like this really, really bright light down on that area,
right?
And it looks like there's nothing there.
It's just like, it's just like the highlights just blow it right out. No, in this one, look, soft body physics, my man. All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
Okay. Poke.
Bait. It's a bullying simulator. Both of those words are very kind of teasing. Or fish, or something to do with fish. Poke brings me to like spearfishing of some sort.
Okay.
Has there been any spearfishing games? Could be a good VR one again. I think all our games are VR this episode.
That happens every now and again.
Let's find something more interesting than that. It could be caveman-ish.
Okay. And sort of going in a Far Cry Primal sort of
I never
direction.
Played that.
Then.
Yeah. Something around tools. Something around tools in like primitive man. Fighting between like the different Homo sapien, Homo neanderthalis, or whatever species.
But they've just got like social networking, so you can poke and get someone's attention.
Yes, it's definitely cavemen, but they have iPhones. I like this. No, seriously, I like the idea of this doesn't quite fit in with our mirror thing, but like some sort of time travel experiment gone wrong has sent a few like items of future technology back to primitive society, and it's about them like figuring out how to use it. Like they've got phones, but they don't even have like proper language. But they figured out how to call each other and grunt.
How do they keep on recharging the phone?
I mean, it's just part of the whole time travel thing. It's wireless charging.
It's wireless charging throughout the dimensions.
Yeah. It's far future technology. It's like the iPhone 37 where it charges based on the ions in the air.
Okay, I kind of like the idea that this is like a separate dimension of Earth in which the actual year that these Neanderthals are actually in is 2018. So
okay,
it's
like
it's been running parallel to us. It's just that
are you trying to bring in the mirror thing?
No. Okay. I'm not trying to bring in the mirror thing.
Right.
I'm liking the idea that it's
so basically humans evolved later. In the sort of the history of the Earth,
or something happened and they just didn't evolve.
Right. Oh, okay. Something like halted their evolution.
Yes. So they're
interesting.
still in the Neanderthal phase.
There's
when
no
they really should
evolutionary
have-
pressure to get larger brains and language and art and well, they probably have some art, but yeah. Okay.
Cave paintings and stuff. Yep. And
I sound like a cave
so
painter now.
I kind of like the idea that it's a narrative game, sort of seeing what actually happens when this technology sort of comes into play, because it turns out that, and you can maybe go through in this game a little bit further to find out that it was actually another dimension who purposely sent this technology through to see if they could actually
like disrupt them in some way, or
to get them to kickstart into
more, like okay. So does that mean we jump like millions of years into the future at different points, or how does that work?
Maybe your character can be captured, taken to this other dimension.
Okay.
And then when they go back, like things have sort of changed, and they're still grunts and all that.
There's a bit of an Encino Man vibe.
Yep.
I like the idea that you go back and there's just cities. There's like high-powered lawyers in suits on their phones, but they're all still just grunting. They haven't developed language. Like they seriously have like 7 sounds they can make, and through that they portray everything they need to. And they still have like those big caveman sticks, like from the comics, like just rounded at one end and sort of carved into shape. They still hit each other over the head when they want to have sex.
I really like the idea.
It's very BC comics.
That you go into like a courtroom and they're, one or two of the lawyers are just dressed in their best furs.
Yeah. All their suits are still like animal furs. The cities are all just made out of like, or maybe they're just giant caves somehow. They've just carved giant caves out of mountains. I mean, which some civilizations did, but yeah.
I'm seeing, the typical Neanderthal look of the monobrow.
Oh, like, yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe it's actually that Homo sapiens were killed. Like, they didn't survive. The Neanderthals
did.
And so that parallel evolution, they still developed art and technology and stuff, but for whatever reason, their brains didn't actually grow enough or in the right ways for real language and, clothes.
Real language, clothes, or like I kind of think like the Flintstones, everything's sort of like.
Well, they never figured out the wheel, so it's all square wheels.
You see like a freeway and they're all traveling at like 10 kilometers an hour.
They're just all pushing these great stone things. Well, I love the idea that the technology is the same as ours, except they didn't figure out wheels or clothes. Like, there's just these few little things that didn't make it. And so, there's just these like fully formed modern looking cars, and they're just pushing them on their chassis, like sparks flying up. Or like dragging them on like rail. I don't know.
They're all kind of like on ski sort of things. So you can't really turn.
Yeah, well that's a good point. Like they figured it's not completely inefficient. They're sort of on these ski sort of things, but they just didn't figure out circles. They just couldn't quite get it.
That's it.
Straight lines only.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
Stank.
Store
stank. The store stank redemption.
Oh god.
Okay. What sort of stores have stank? Pet stores?
Well, I'm just wondering,
manure stores?
Is this like you're actually storing away the stank.
Oh, you're like collecting smells?
Yeah.
The smell collector. Give me your smells. Fart for me. It's like a horror movie. The Stink Collector.
Give me that. Give me some of that stank.
The Stank Man cometh.
So, is it again like a Telltale sort of game where you play a
Stanksman?
Oh, I'm thinking a young apprentice
of a Stanksman.
Who goes around collecting smells. But
okay.
halfway through like the first episode, you start noticing that certain smells have been disappearing from the world.
Oh, okay.
And so now your adventure is to work out who's been stealing these smells and storing them away. And basically capturing them so no one else can smell them.
How do we translate smells into some, without going stupid with like smell peripherals that generate smells like we have in the past, into some sort of gameplay, like visual or sound, like auditory?
Well, it's got to be stink lines. I mean, that's
it's just stink lines. Well, but I'm talking about the different types of smells. Is it like different colored stink lines, or they just have different shapes to them, like they wave in different frequencies?
I think you can actually have like these special goggles.
I love the idea, and maybe we shouldn't use this because it's too weird. But I just had the thought of them literally just grabbing the physical stink lines, and that's how they collect the smells. Like just reaching out. It's like, oh, there's stink lines. Like there's a smell there. Like just gathering up the stink lines. All right, handful of stink lines into my pocket.
God. I think the idea that you have to have like sort of like auras. That's sort of, you know, how people say that auras have different colors and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, stinks, you know, they appear on different
on different things, right? Sort of radiating in from them, different wavelengths, different colors. You could have like they could have different like little floaty bits floating around them of different shapes and colors. In sort of like around the edges of the aura or coming out of them in some way. And
you can have, maybe there's some people who like are really, really proud of their perfumes and that sort of stuff that they've managed to collect.
Well, I like the idea that you have to like solve puzzles based on like having to recognize these different smells based on these auras you can see. And like there's definitely
either halfway through or end of the first episode, one of your early cases sort of comes to you and basically says, I don't smell anything anymore.
My like, BO has just disappeared.
All the perfumes that I now own have no smell.
Just no smell. It's like the nothing in the Neverending Story.
They've lost that stank.
It's not even like there's no smell. It's like you don't have a nose. They lost that stinking feeling. I like that. And there's definitely got to be like a big twist at the end where one of the, like, you recognize a particular smell. It's like, no, it can't be. How can this be possible that it's that smell? Just because we've used that mechanic so well that it's instantly recognizable.
Yeah. Because you've had flashbacks to like,
when you smelled it as a kid.
Like
yeah.
And it all comes back, flooding back.
The smell.
And you find out that
of your very first. I was going to go real dirty, but I'm not going to do that.
I'm like, nope.
No.
The smell of your first
pizza.
Oh yeah, that's a good smell.
The first time you have that first slice of pizza in your life, and look, 95% of taste is smell. So
that first slice of your mum's lasagna.
Yeah, let's go there. Let's do that. I don't know. Yeah, I like it. That's cool.
I'm getting to that. It's your mum. Your mum is the bad guy.
Oh, they're the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Your mum's been stealing all
the smells, all the good
smells of the world.
Smells. She wants them all for herself. She is the stank queen. There's your title. There's the title of the episode. She is the stank queen.
Oh God. Let's do one more. 3, 2, 1, quick.
All right, one more. All right, do you want me to go first, or you to go first? Because you've obviously got a good one.
I'm just laughing because we can't do this word at all.
Oh, what is it?
Doubling.
Doubling?
Doubling.
Oh, doubling. Oh, you got it
doubling again.
All right. Well, we could do the trilogy. Submerging.
Yeah, no.
All right. Could do could be a water-based one. What?
Examiner.
I mean,
I'm just going to change my complexity for a second.
Yeah. I'll cover my eyes while you change your complexity.
Yep. Snoring.
Submerging. So around sleeping, around liquid of some kind.
Mm. Okay, so it's a cure for snoring.
Okay. But you have to, like, nearly drown yourself because your body, in its panic state, like, clears your entire sinus passage to try to get that last breath of air. It just so happens that it's so powerful, it, like, realigns your fucking nasal whatever. What do they call that?
Nasal chakras?
Sure. Let's go there. It's like a new form of chiropractic where they shove your head in a bath and they'd do that. They'd fucking do that.
Yeah.
I don't think we've made one game. No, I guess our early ones were games.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
There were a whole heap of VR games.
That's true.
That was
That's
good.
true.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
So, snoring, submersion.
Maybe something around like a religious, like baptism?
I'm seeing that this is maybe a like a dream study.
Okay.
And like the submersion is basically like a solution that you and a few other people get put into. The snoring is just talking about
so you're like
sleeping and dreaming.
You're like the precogs in Minority Report.
Yeah.
If they snored.
But effectively what actually happens is kind of similar to like Nightmare on Elm Street. You get put into like a group dream.
Okay.
Very similar to Inception as well. But I like the idea that maybe something has actually gone wrong. And it's an action adventure, you and your team trying to escape the dream world.
Right. Can you go deeper like in Inception? Inception?
I don't think you can do that whole, well, you go into a dream inside the dream. You know, I think that's a little bit too far. But I like the idea that as you spend more time in the dream world, you unlock, you know, powers to basically
to like take control of it a bit.
Yes. But
that could be
also
interesting.
Sort of going up against maybe one of your team members turns out to be sort of
right. Well, yeah, I like this idea that maybe each team member ends up sort of unlocking different ways to control the dream state, and you sort of start.
And one of them,
you start sort of merging.
Goes apocalypse now and starts going crazy.
Right, and just like turning the world against you.
Well, actually, maybe that could be the reason why you and the team are going into the dream world.
Oh, you're like trying to get someone out or something?
You're trying to get someone out, and they've basically
cool.
They've gone apocalypse now and have basically taken refuge within the dream world and now are like super, super powerful in there.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
Because I have a feeling that we could do a lot of stuff with like, you know, really, really weird.
Like the shifting of the environment and, you know, things that may or may not be there or that can appear out of nowhere.
Doing what are those? What are those? Crazy can't be real. Sort of drawings.
Oh, like forced perspective sort of stuff, or
but also
like optical illusions and things. Yeah,
yeah, but they're by a certain creator.
Escher.
I'm trying to think.
Escher. Yeah.
So you get lots of Escher style drawing.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Environments.
A bit of Monument Valley kind of. That was a very different tone, but
yeah,
yeah,
but
that's cool.
But just being able to sort of control that and be either in a first person or a third person sort of adventure within the dream world.
Also, David Bowie as Jareth from the Labyrinth, the Goblin King, is there.
Walking upside down.
Yeah, He's the guy. He's the guy you're trying to get out.
You pick up the phone at one stage and he goes, "You remind me of the Babe." Well, no, we're not doing that again.
No, we did that in the previous episode.
But yeah, I really would like to see how a team of awesome developers could take this dream world and create this.
Oh, there'd be a lot of cool effects you could do and a lot of cool mechanics that you could come up with. Absolutely. Yeah, and I like that idea of, one person gains control enough to sort of manifest their own creatures to fight alongside them or something, and another one takes control enough that they can kind of teleport around or like move really fast or something. And basically just get sort of superpowers in a way, but within this context of this dream state.
But also, one of the things that happens in my dreams sometimes is you get stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
Where you can't get out of it.
I like that idea of bringing in classic like dream things as the sort of debuffs.
Yeah.
So one of them is like
that used to happen in some of my dreams where I was riding a bike and I'd be picturing myself pedaling, and then I'd try to stop myself from pedaling, but it's like I couldn't find the place to actually stop
to
the
like
pedaling
put your feet
So your feet are just continually going. It's like, no, my mind won't let me stop it.
I used to have that with driving. Before I learned to drive, I'd have dreams where I was in a moving car and I couldn't figure out the pedals, and I'm just sort of trying to avoid things. And but no, I like that idea that like the bad guy does things that are like the typical dream things. So like you suddenly are there in your underwear and everyone's laughing at you.
Oh yeah.
Or like you try to run, but it feels like you're running really slow and you never get to where you want to go. Or like you try to hit someone and your punches never quite connect because they slow down as they get closer or whatever. Like, have you ever had that where you're trying to fight in a dream? Yeah. Or your teeth start falling out.
You start fighting and you feel like you're underwater and you just don't have any or you can't keep your eyes whatsoever. You can't keep your eyes open all of a sudden. I'm not sure how that would play out in the game, but that happens to me in dreams all the time, and it's horrible. Yeah, I like the idea of there being like a boogeyman sort of thing that comes in if
the electric boogaloo man. Yep.
Oh God.
Maybe we'll finish it there. Do you want to finish your sentence? I did interrupt you, but
yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that.
It was probably you were probably going to say electric boogaloo man, so it's fine. I just
yeah, so basically you've got a boogeyman who comes through and keeps on invading like some of the happier dreams that you're trying to put in place.
Right.
And it turns out that
you have to take him out with a vacuum cleaner. Like in was it Mr. Boogeyman?
Oh God.
Thanks for joining us this week.
Yeah.
On Bitstorm.
That went a little bit weird at the end.
They all go weird by the end.
Yeah, they do.
I think it was Mr. Boogedy. It was. It's definitely Mr. Boogedy. Thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, though we fucking don't use Instagram. Bitstormcast on all of those. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups.bitstorm. No, facebook.com/groups/bitstorm. We're also on Podchaser at podchaser.com/bitstorm.
We're also on iTunes where you can rate, review, subscribe. We've got a website, bitstormcast.com. Like to plug our friends at the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just search for #AGPN on Twitter or the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust, a band that we're both part of, for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
So, thank you again for joining us. I'm Ben Slinger.
I am Trevor Scott.
Moo! And I'm going to put an effect on that so it sounds like a robot.
But I've got the edit.
And you're going to put an effect on that so it sounds like a robot.
Oh no, my cow got hacked.